Assalamu alaikum. This is 50th lecture of Managerial Economics, and the topic which we are going to discuss today is competitive markets. Basically, firm takes decision on the basis of output determination and prices determination, and these decisions depends on market structure. As we know that market is a place where buyers and sellers of a product meet, and market structure is the competitive environment in which the buyers and sellers of a product operate. Basically, there are four types of market structures or organization, and these are identified as perfect competition is one extreme and other one is monopoly, which is opposite extreme. There are two other market structures which are monopolistic competition and oligopoly. As I told you, there are two extremes are perfect competition and monopoly. And in real world, examples of monopoly and perfect competition are exist but are less. Whereas in oligopoly and monopolistic competition structure, mostly firms are working. In order to explain difference between one market structure to the other market structure, we have to consider various factors such as number of buyers and sellers, types of products which is being to sold and bought in the market. Then we have to consider the factor of production, mobility of factor of production, and the freedom to the firms to exit and enter in the market or in an industry, and also the knowledge, the degree of knowledge, that is the degree of knowledge that the different economic agents like producers, consumers, and resource owners have well aware about the prices, costs, and other economic conditions, that is market conditions. Basically, as I told you in previous, that we can distinguish between one market structure to the other market. We are going to consider today competitive market and firms. First of all, we will discuss today perfect competition. Before discussing it, I will give you an overview of this lecture, which we will discuss today. We will discuss about perfect competition and demand for a competitive price taker, then profit maximization and profit margin, and at the end of the lecture we will discuss output decision, short run supply curve, and short run producer surplus. Basically, perfect competition is based on demand and supply. Basic features or assumptions of perfect competition are number of buyers and sellers are very large, firms are price taker, each produces only a very small portion of total market and industry output. All firms produce a homogeneous product. The product which is sold and bought in market is standardized homogeneous product. Enter and exit from the market is free, unrestricted. Firms, they can easily enter into the market and exit market, and it is also assumed that degree of information is perfect. Producers, consumers, and economic agents have knowledge about costs, prices, and market forces and market conditions regarding forces of the market, like supply and demand. Examples of perfect competition: stock market, similarly in agriculture market, corn, wheat, cotton. These are examples close to in real world. As I said in previous slide that both buyers and sellers are price taker. They cannot influence the given market price, which is fixed. Each firm can sell its at market price, each firm sell its output at market price. So price is determined by market forces, demand and supply. Firms are, as we know, firms are price taker. So basically, firms decide how much to produce at given price. By intersection of market demand and supply, demand curve is horizontal at price determined. So where market price is determined, their supply and demand curves are intersect each other at point E, and the demand curve is horizontal and perfectly elastic, because prices market prices fixed. Margin revenue equal price. So where market demand and supply where market demand and supply curves are intersect with each other, their margin revenue and prices and average revenue are equal. Can sell all they want at the market price. Each additional unit of sales adds to total revenue and amount equal to prices. So every unit of output sale at market price, and every additional unit of sale adds to um, total revenue. Next slide, you can see that we have shown market demand curve and market supply curve, and you are quite familiar with it. We discussed it in detail in previous lectures. Demand curve and supply curve intersect each other, and in panel B you can see that price is determined where supply curve and demand curve intersect with each other. The firm is facing this price, which is demand curve of the firm, and which is equal to margin revenue and average revenue. This demand curve is horizontal and elastic. So firm takes this price and decide how much firm will produce. Next, we will discuss profit maximization in the short run. In the short run, manager must make two decisions. They should produce or shut down. If shut down, produce no output and hires no variable input. So when firms shut down, there is no production, and firm don't hire variable inputs. If shut down, firm losses amount equal to total fixed cost. So the point where firm shut down, where the firm losses is equal to total fixed costs. So here when firm bear losses, firm will shut down. If produce, what is the optimal output level? If firm does produce, then how much firm will produce amount that maximizes economic profit. So profit will equal to total revenue minus total cost. So here we are considering short run, and in the short run in short run there are some factors is fixed. We have discussed in previous lecture that in cost analysis and production analysis. For example, here we take an example of a restaurant manager. Sometimes you go a restaurant and you see that it is empty at lunch time. Here some factors are fixed, like rent of plates and tables is fixed, so customers come or not, he's bearing fixed costs. Now manager decide that he should serve lunch to some customers or not. So it based on manager decision, and if he decide to serve, then how much he will earn revenue from it. It depends on total fixed cost and total variable cost. He will compare total fixed cost and total variable cost, and whether he and check that whether his fixed costs and total variable costs are covered or not. So manager decisions based on total fixed costs and total variable costs, whether both costs are covered or not. And if both costs, total variable costs and total fixed costs are covered, manager uh, um, will produce. And if both costs, total fixed costs and total variable costs are not covered, then manager um, will shut down. Next is profit margin or average profit. So here is the formula of profit margin. When we subtract price, average total cost from price, we get our profit margin. So level of output that maximizes total profit occurs at a higher level than the output that maximizes profit margin. So manager should ignore profit margin when making optimal decisions. So in their decisions, managers uh, should ignore profit margin. Next is manager short run output decision, where manager will stop his production. Firm manager will produce output where price is equal to marginal cost as long as. So manager will produce at the point where price is equal to marginal cost, and where total revenue is greater than and equal to total variable cost. If total revenue will less than or equal to less than from total variable cost, that point manager will shut down um, his production. So manager will produce output where total revenue um, will will be greater than and equal to total variable cost, or equivalently price greater than and equal to average variable cost. So manager will produce at the point uh, where always price is greater than or equal to average variable cost. If price is less than average variable cost, manager will shut down. So at shutdown point, uh, manager produce zero output and lose only total fixed cost of manager losses uh, will be equal to total fixed cost, and manager will shut down the point where price is minimum from average variable cost. So here we draw a diagram which shows different cost curves like average variable cost, average total cost, and margin costs. Uh, we consider price is fixed here, which is equal to marginal revenue and average revenue, and demand curve. When firm produces 600 units uh, at price 36, our total revenue is equal to 21,600, and our total cost is equal to 11,400. So when we subtract our cost from our total revenue, we get economic profit, which is equal to 10,200. So here total cost is equal to 11,400. When we divide price by 600, we get our total cost, which is equal to 11,400. So economic profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. When we subtract total cost from total revenue, we get our economic profit, which is equal to 10,200. So at where market price is equal to margin revenue and average revenue, that is the point where firm and which is greater than from average total cost and average variable cost. So here price is at higher point, the firm at that point firm earn abnormal profit. But in perfect competition, firm always earn normal profit when our average total cost is equal to price and marginal cost. That is a point where firm earn normal profit. So in perfect competition, firm always earn normal profit. Profit maximization when price is equal to $36. We will consider total revenue and total cost approach because basically firm objective is maximize profit. Uh, Here we draw the curves of total revenue and total cost. You will notice here total cost curve is its usual shape, that is in U-shape unit. Cost curve uh, here uh, total revenue curve is linear and rising curve, and that is non-linear curve. Here price is constant, margin revenue for each unit is constant, and price determined by market forces, demand and supply, which is equal to um, mm, price is equal to 36, and here total revenue is equal to 21,600, uh, and total cost is equal to 11,400, and our profit and our economic profit, which is equal to 10,200. You can see that in panel B, where our economic profit is equal to maximize, where uh, and which is equal to 10,200. And here firm quantity is 600 units. We draw the total cost and total revenue curves where the distance between the total revenue and total cost is maximum. That is the point where firm uh, maximizes profit. So firm profit will be maximized at the point where the difference between total revenue and total cost is um, maximum. So you can see that at point J and K, uh, both points showing the difference between total cost and total revenue is maximum. And here the firm quantity is 600, and economic profit, which is maximum, these points, which is equal to 10,200. Next is short run loss minimization, and price here is equal to 10.50. Here we can see that different cost curves like short run marginal cost curve, average total cost, and average variable cost. So here firm bear minimum losses. So when the price is equal to 10.50, where our you can see that our average total cost is above the price, uh, and our average variable cost is minimum from the price. So when our average total cost is above the price, here at this point firm bearing minimum loss. So here total revenue is equal to uh, price, which is equal to 10.50 multiplied by here quantity is equal to 300. So here total revenue is equal to 3,150, and our uh, total cost is equal to 5,100. because our cost, you can see that our average total cost is above our price, and here price is equal to 17, and when we multiply 17 with our quantity which is equal to 300, when we multiply 17 by 300 we get 5100 cost. So when we subtract total cost from total revenue, we get 1950 profit, and which is uh, in minus terms. So here firm get minimum losses because here cost is above from our total revenue. So when our average total cost is above uh, the price, here firm bear minimum losses. Next is irrelevance of fixed costs. So fixed costs are irrelevant in the production decision. Level of fixed cost has no effect on margin cost or minimum average variable cost. So our fixed cost, total fixed cost has no effect on our margin cost and on average variable cost. So fixed cost is irrelevant. Thus, no effect on optimal level of output. Here is the summary of short-run output decision. Average variable cost tells whether to produce, shut down if price falls below minimum average variable cost. So when price will less than from average variable cost, that is the point where firm will shut down and stop to produce, because firm's average variable costs are not covered and the firm bear losses here. So firm will stop uh, to produce. Next is short run margin cost tells how much to produce if price is greater than and equal to average variable cost. So firm produce here at which point where price is equal to margin cost. Average total cost tells how much profit and loss if produced. So average total cost basically tells a firm uh, how much profit and loss will be occur when a firm uh, producing uh, producing, and then how much firm bear how much firm bear losses or firm get profit. So here profit is equal to economic profit is equal to price minus average total cost. When we subtract average total cost from price and we multiply with quantity, we get our economic profit. So basically average total cost tells a firm when a firm um, uh, in a production process, how much a firm will get a profit or loss. Next is short run supply curve. For an individual price taking firm, portion of firm margin cost curve above minimum average variable cost. For prices below minimum average variable cost, quantity supplied is 0. So the portion of margin cost which is above the minimum average variable cost, that is our short run supply curve. For a competitive industry, horizontal sum of supply curves of all individual firms. So all individual firms horizontal sum of supply curve always upward sloping. Supply prices give marginal cost of production for every firm. Short run producer surplus. Short run producer surplus is the amount by which total revenue exceeds total variable costs. So what is the point where producer gets surplus? Producer gets surplus when the total revenue is greater than total variable cost. The area above the short run supply curve, that is below market price over the range of output supplied. So the area which is above the short run supply curve, that is the area where a producer get surplus. So here the firm get abnormal profit where our price is greater than um, total variable cost and total cost, and economic exceeds economic profit by the amount of total fixed cost, and the economic profit will be exceeds total fixed cost. So here is uh, producer get surplus. This diagram shows short-run firm and industry supply curves. In panel A, you can see that here is supply curve for the firm, and in panel B, here is short-run industry supply curve, and in industry are under firm with identical costs. So in panel A, you can see that here are different costs, margin cost and average variable cost, and the point A, you can see that the area of margin cost which is above average variable cost, that is called supply curve for a firm. So in panel B, you can see that here here is industry supply curve, and in industry are 100 firms, and the price which is equal to 5 at a point, and the output quantity which is equal to 8,000. So we know that producer surplus is equal to total revenue minus average variable cost. So when we subtract from total revenue average variable cost, we get our producer surplus. So here producer surplus is equal to 38,000. So the area which is A to C, which is onward A to uh, till C, that is called industry supply curve. So uh, here are two supply curve. First, in panel A, we discussed supply curve for a firm, and in panel B, we discussed short run industry supply curve, and in our industry here are 100 firms.